Every author eventually has to make the call to kill a character or keep them. And it's not easy, especially when you've spent so much time with them. But if you're gonna do it, you gotta do it right. So today I'm gonna be covering 5 things to keep in mind when you're killing off a fictional character. And look, I learned some of this the hard way when writing my own novel, The Aetherverse. So if you pay attention to these now, it'll spare you a lot of editing later. The first thing to remember is to tie up loose ends. A lot of people die with unfinished business, but it doesn't mean that your characters have to. So before you kill them off, think about what unresolved conflicts or loose threads they're gonna leave behind. Consider any unexplained motives or actions that might confuse your readers. And also think about what happens to people close to them after they die. Like if they got a wife, what happens to her? If they have kids, what happens to them? You don't have to resolve everything immediately. Like some things can come out later, like maybe a third party revealing information, a diary entry, or just a later scene. And this is gonna be especially relevant for mystery novels because you want some loose ends for a while. But my key point is this: loose ends should be resolved at some point, even if it's not right away. The timeline's yours to decide, but you do want to make sure that you don't leave these open-ended things for your readers to sit there and wonder about, like what happened to the family? Why did they do that thing in that scene while they were still alive that we never get an explanation for? Just basically don't leave people guessing. Wrap things up as best you can with each character, even if it's not right away. My second thing to remember is do not let your character die in vain. Honestly, I think this is probably my most important point. Don't just kill a character off because you don't know what to do with them. Their deaths should be significant and it should drive the plot forward. But this is an easy trap to fall into, especially in sci-fi and fantasy where dramatic deaths are kind of expected. But here's the 2 things you're risking if you do it wrong. First is that the readers are going to wonder what the point of that character was at all. And then readers who like them are going to feel cheated by it. So it's going to be obvious if their death didn't really serve any purpose. So if you can't think of a good reason to kill them, don't. Or just ask yourself if that character is even needed at all. It might turn out that in a later edit, it's better to just remove the character entirely than to throw them in, not know what to do with them, kill them off, and then leave the reader sitting there like, well, I guess that's that. That character ended up being a waste of the reader's attention, and you wasted a lot of time introducing them to someone that doesn't even matter. So yeah, make sure they die for a reason. And then third thing to remember is to make your readers care about the character. There's no point in killing a character off if it doesn't land with the readers. They don't have to be devastated that the character's dead. They just need to have an opinion on that character at all. And whether they love them or they hate them, they should feel something when the character dies. So go back and audit your character's page time. How many scenes have they appeared in? Has the reader gotten enough insight into their motives, their personality, or their background? Like, personal example, in my sci-fi novel, The Aetherverse, I killed off a character who hadn't been given enough attention. I obviously, at the time, did not realize that until a later edit, but I actually ended up having to go back and add scenes to make that character a little bit more relevant. Like, they were there, they drove the plot forward, but I feel like there wasn't enough time for the readers to have any sort of attachment at all. And while I wasn't trying to get them to, like, love this character, they should have had some sort of opinion on them, and with the way I had initially written it, there was no way anyone was gonna give a crap. So yeah, I added scenes later to make sure that their death actually lands. Again, it wasn't meant to be a tearjerker moment, but it just needed to not be forgettable. And if you don't pay enough attention to that character before their death, it's gonna be forgettable no matter what. Of course, there is one big exception. If you're writing a murder mystery story and you're trying to set up the plot, readers don't need to know the victim first. Like, you don't need to explain who Jane Doe is, at least right away. You'll reveal who that is and why the reader should care over the course of the story. But for everyone else, just make sure your readers care about the character beforehand. Okay, and then fourth thing to remember is do not rush it. And I'm not talking about the speed of this character's death itself. I'm talking about the language and the pacing of that scene. The death scene shouldn't be too short, even if it happens quick in the story. You're gonna want it to linger. Like another example from my own book, this character dies at the end of a fast-paced fight scene, and I wrote the action the usual way that I would. Like short sentences, punchy verbs, like just kind of how I would normally do it. But I got to the death and then it was like 1 paragraph. So it's super easy to skim right past. So in later drafts, I ended up expanding this paragraph to be a few paragraphs, and it did make a big difference. I didn't have to make it like hugely long, but expanding it from the very, very short little death that it was did help quite a bit. But you really do have to find balance here. You got to feel it out. I can't really say this is the right amount of time, this is the wrong amount of time you should spend depicting this. But yeah, you got to find that sweet spot. Don't slow down a fast scene so much that it kills the momentum, but don't move so fast that readers blink and then boom, the scene's over. You don't want them to miss what's supposed to be a meaningful moment. And beta readers are going to be your friend here. They're going to tell you if something felt too rushed. So if they give you any feedback on that, make sure to listen to it. Okay, and fifth thing to remember is to leave an impact. This character's death shouldn't just matter for the plot, it should matter to your other characters. Think about how different people in your cast are going to react. Some will grieve, some won't, and some might even be relieved. You don't have to show all of this immediately. It can play out over the course of the story, but if your other characters don't seem to care that someone died, your readers aren't going to either. It all goes back to human sympathy. Readers invest in fiction because they care about people, even fictional emotional ones. So a death that really like ripples through your cast is one that's going to stick with your reader. Anyway, if you keep these things in mind, killing off a character won't be that hard. Of course, I can't do anything about the emotional element of it. I know some of you guys get really attached to your own characters, so I can't make that part any easier. But I can at least help when it comes to how readers might react to that death. So yeah, make sure you tie up the loose ends, give their death a purpose, give people a reason to care, and pace it right. It's gonna make all the difference. You know, killing a character is hard, but someone's gotta do it. If you wanna see how I applied this in my own work, and God knows I didn't get it right on the first try or even the second, then check out my sci-fi novel, The Aetherverse, links in the description. And if you found this helpful, please like and subscribe, follow me on social media, and as always, thanks for watching.